making the ultimate chocolate party cake. It's chocolate on chocolate on chocolate on chocolate. It's my favorite thing to make, so let's party on, me too. Chocolate cake with chocolate ganache and homemade sprinkles that also happen to be chocolate. I believe in you. I think you can do this. This is not chocolate overkill. This is chocolate love, baby. So first you're going to start with your dry ingredients. You're going to grab your flour, then you're going to grab your cocoa powder and pour that into your bowl as well. Baking soda and salt, just a few pinches. And now you can grab a little bit of nutmeg. I like to grate mine fresh and just give it a nice little whisk. And now to our wet ingredients. Add your eggs, sugar, and you're probably wondering, well, sugar's not a wet ingredient. Well, using sugar as a binder for your wet ingredients helps bring it together, and it'll be an easier process to incorporate it with our dries. So I gave this guy a little whisk. I'm gonna grab my vanilla, and adding yogurt to this cake kind of brings out the tanginess of the cocoa powder, and it just gives it a beautiful texture, more like spongy. Your coffee, adding coffee at this stage brings out all of those delicious notes of the chocolate and the chocolate ganache and the chocolate sprinkles. It's a great way to use waste because sometimes we overmake coffee. Every morning, I know I do. And last but not least, olive oil. Now we're gonna give this a mix. I love this recipe because it's so easy to make it. Literally everything that you see in front of me is everything you need. Keep mixing until everything comes together. And it's okay if your oil separates a little bit. Now we're gonna put our wet into our dries. So for this, I could use a mixer. But for this recipe, we're gonna use the good old-fashioned whisk and some muscle power. Let's start whisking. That coffee and that nutmeg really smell delicious in this. So now we're gonna line our pan with parchment paper. We're gonna use a little bit of olive oil to grease our pan and to help the parchment paper stick. I like to use olive oil just because we're already using olive oil in our batter and it's just gonna taste delicious. So first you're gonna turn your pan upside down and you're gonna grab some parchment paper, fold it in half. Now fold it in half again. Fold that on its corner into a 90-degree angle. Fold it again to make a weird paper airplane situation. And if you really want to take it one step further to get that perfect little scallop, fold it one more time. So you're gonna find the center of your pan. I think this is the center. What do you think, Misu? You're gonna put your parchment paper in the center. And you're gonna cut right at the edge of your pan. And now you unfold it. You have a circle. Ta-da! Grab a little brush, dunk it in some olive oil, and coat your pan. Put this parchment paper in your cake pan. Now, before you pour in your cake, grab your brush again and brush your parchment paper. This will help prevent your chocolate cake from sticking to the parchment paper and to the edge of the pan. Now grab your chocolate cake batter and pour it in. You're gonna try to fill this cake up 3/4 of the way. You're gonna tap it once to release all the bubbles. So we're gonna bake this cake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for roughly around 30 minutes or until a cake tester comes out clean. So I'll see you in 30 minutes. We're gonna learn how to make ganache. I thought that making ganache used to be this really tedious, hardcore process, but really it's just cream and chocolate. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna bring your cream to a scald, a light scald, grab your corn syrup and add it to your pot, add a pinch of salt. So when you're warming up your cream, you don't want to bring it to a full boil because when you bring it up to a full boil, you actually evaporate a lot of the moisture inside of the cream, which will result in a more dense ganache. And we want to treat this almost like a frosting. So we're going to try to make sure that we warm it enough so that it melts the chocolate which is typically our body temperature. And we're gonna let the ganache sit a little bit so it firms up a little bit so that it becomes nice and spreadable like frosting. So you can see now that our cream is starting to scald a little bit. I try to check the temperature, and as soon as it's warm to the touch, I grab my chocolate, grab my cream, and pour it right in. Give it a stir. Now that you've mixed, we're going to grab a little whisk and really help that chocolate ganache come together. And it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. You've now made homemade chocolate ganache. Amazing. Ganache. We're gonna let this guy sit for 30 minutes or so, and then we can get to ice our beautiful chocolate cake. Okay, so now while we have our ganache cooling, our cake is cooling, I'm gonna show you how to make chocolate sprinkles. So grab your rubber spatula, mesh strainer, and your powdered sugar, and just pass it through. You really wanna do this because you don't wanna have any powdered sugar clumps. It's gonna be really difficult to make your beautiful sprinkles if you don't do this process. We're almost there, look, you see? So, you don't have to do this, but I think that it's really important since we already kind of exhausted our arm muscle for this powdered sugar. I'm going to take my cocoa powder and I'm gonna sift it also, just to make sure that there's no little clumps. Yay! Now we have our sifted powdered sugar and our sifted cocoa powder in here. We're gonna grab our meringue powder. I'm gonna give this a mix before I start. I think my mixture is a little bit on the dry side, so we're gonna add just a little bit more water, not a full tablespoon, maybe like a teaspoon. So what you're looking for is in consistency to be a little shiny. It's going to be very thick, but you want it to be that way so that it's a easier way to transfer and store your sprinkles. So we're gonna put this in our piping bag. I'm gonna close the piping bag so that as I clean up, this guy doesn't dry out and make a giant sprinkle. So here is my parchment lined sheet tray. You're gonna grab your piping bag. You're gonna make sure that your edge of the piping bag is nice and unridged. You're gonna grab your scissors and you're gonna cut off the edge, but just do a little bit, like maybe a baby triangle. So first, before we start piping our sprinkles, we are going to secure the edges of our parchment paper. Pro tip, if you make a tiny piping bag within your piping bag, it's easier to pipe. So I am piping a straight line, just slowly pushing out the sprinkles. So I've piped as many sprinkles as I can for today. These guys will be ready tomorrow, but I'm gonna show you what they look like from a day ago and all of the varieties that I've been able to make. I now have had these guys sitting and drying for at least 24 hours and they are completely dry. Look at that, that's awesome. I'm going to gather them up and now you break it apart. So I'm gonna grab it from the center. I'm just gonna crush it very gently until they all just start breaking apart. So as you can see, we made some beautiful, colorful sprinkles. They don't taste as good as the chocolate. They taste even better. Oh my God. Yum, yum, yum. Look at these little dots. They're like tiny little emojis. I had taste test these. Make sure that quality control. Okay, let's decorate our cake before I eat all these sprinkles. So here we have our final step. So first we're gonna unmold our cake. You're gonna take your offset. You go to the sides of your cake to make sure that you're releasing it from the sides if anything did end up sticking. You're gonna take your cake and your plate, and you're gonna put your plate over your pan. You're gonna flip your cake, And the big reveal. Ta-da! Amazing. Gonna grab our ganache and we're gonna pour it on top. Grab your offset and just smooth it out until you reach the edge of your cake. And I like to go in with a little swoop action. And now it's our decorating time. So grab some sprinkles and let it rain. It's raining sprinkles. Yay! Miso, it's raining sprinkles. Woo-hoo. I'm gonna keep adding sprinkles because I think that I like this part so much. Look at that. Oh. So this cake just looks amazing. This is the ultimate chocolate party cake. The sprinkles are looking awesome. The ganache is sitting pretty. And look at those layers of delicious chocolate cake. I'm gonna grab my slice and I'm gonna enjoy because it's a party. You could box this up and sell it any day of the week. If life gives you lemons, make sprinkles. We have a party on our plate. Woo! I'm so excited to eat this. It's amazing, it's so soft. And that ganache is just so lovely. And once it really sets up, it's gonna be fantastic. It's so good, it's delicious. Try this. You too can have the ultimate chocolate party cake anytime at home. Bye!